In this video, I'm going to show you how to place the window regulator on this Nissan Pathfinder. We are working on the rear passenger's door, but the same procedure, more or less, will apply to all the other doors. Let's get started. I'm going to start right here by the door handle. I'm going to open it, and then with a pocket screwdriver, I'm going to stick it right at the front here, pry this panel open. You can see that exposes a 10mm fastener, so let's remove that. Set this aside. By the grab handle, you'll have this panel that we have to remove, and typically I like to avoid using screwdrivers, but you need something that's pointy that'll get behind here. Just be very careful, whatever you use. If it's not plastic, it could damage the surface. And this exposes two more 10mm fasteners. Let's remove both of these. Remove those. Set them aside safely. These are different from the top one that we removed. These are coarse threaded, so make sure they go back where they belong. Now we have to pry the door panel away and pop out all of the plastic clips that hold it on. We need to use a plastic trim tool to get behind it and pop it away. Sometimes this does require quite a bit of force, unfortunately, especially if it's the first time that this has been off. I'm gonna try at the bottom. There we go. Once you pry it away a little bit, you should be able to stick your hand back here. Pry some more. All right, this is popping off from everywhere. At this point, you're going to want to lift it up, but don't go too far because we still have stuff connected on the back side. Let's remove the cables for the door handle. The lower one, well, I mean, both of them will pull straight out, but the lower one, once you pull it out, you'll notice it just has this round ball on the end of it. This top one, once you remove it, has more of a hook type retainer, so they can pretty much only go back into one spot. With those pulled off, we have a connector here for the power window switch. You're going to have to pry the retainer for it off of the door panel. I'm using a trim tool for that. Try not to break it. There we go. Once you pry that away, you should be able to reach under here. It's difficult to see, but the electrical connector needs to be unplugged from the switch. I'm going to use my trim tool to help me push on that lock. There we go. Now your door panel can move away. Two more 10mm fasteners. Remove this bracket. With this removed, we gain full access to the vapor barrier, which has to be pulled away so that we can access the window regulator. Pull these cables out. You don't have to remove this from the door, but we do need access to all these fasteners here, as well as the two openings so we can pull the regulator out. Now with the window switch plugged back in, let's roll the window down. We need to actually bring it to about this level here so we can access the two fasteners that hold the window onto the regulator. Once I bring it right about here, actually a little bit higher than that, I can access one bolt over here and another one right through this triangle-shaped opening. Now let's unplug the window switch and, of course, turn the ignition back off so you don't drain your battery. And since I'm here at this point, I might as well just unplug the window motor. The connector for, or the lock for the connector is on the bottom. Push that up, pull the connector out. And now let's take a 10mm socket and remove the glass from the regulator. With a 10mm socket, remove these two bolts. There we go. Careful, because after you take this one out, the window will be free, not held on anymore by anything. Now, push the glass up. Be very careful when you do this. And I'm going to bring it all the way up. And with a clean glass, it's important so that the tape sticks. I'm going to use some masking tape and basically tape it in the raised position. I'm going to do several strips of tape here. That way I'm sure that it holds. And the reason I use masking tape or painter's tape is so that it does not leave any residue behind. Okay, 3 strips should do the trick. Now with the 10mm socket, remove all 6 fasteners that hold this window regulator in. 2 mounting nuts here, 4 bolts here. Just as a note, this one does not have to be completely removed because it has a slot, and that helps so the window regulator doesn't fall down on the last bolt. Okay, loosen that one up. Now, pull this arm out of the door, pivot the regulator around, lift it up and out, and slide it out through the bottom. There's your old window regulator with the motor. Now take the bolt that you didn't completely remove off the old regulator and put it on the top right-hand corner of this squared piece. Keep in mind the window regulator with the motor goes this way, not the other way. So with this in, what we can do is slide it into the door, and then as it's in position, just hook that bolt in so it doesn't fall down. There we go. So that's lined up. Let's put in the other 3 bolts over here so it can stay. Okay, start them all before you tighten any of them. Otherwise, if you tighten one and it's not lined up, you won't be able to move it around anymore. And now, before I go further, I'm also going to put this in over here. This one's a little tricky. Make sure you don't pinch your fingers back there. You do have to move this rail around until it lines up. And there it is. You're going to have to hold it in place from the back side and then put the 2 mounting nuts on. Once both of these are threaded on, we can tighten all of the fasteners up at once. All right, let's get the wiring harness through this opening here. This one is slightly different, doesn't have that grommet, but it should still plug in. And it does. Perfect. Now plug in your window switch, turn the ignition to the on position, and let's roll the regulator down. Make sure you line it up to right about where it was before when we took those bolts out. Right about here. And be careful when you stick your hand in here with it plugged in. You don't want it to pinch you. So now let's unplug the switch, turn off the ignition. That way there's no way this can potentially roll up or down by itself. And let's bring the glass back down. Now take the tape off very carefully. Make sure you hold it on this last one. As you can see, no residue is left behind. That's perfect. Slowly bring it down. Make sure it doesn't come off track or tilt in weird directions. Oop, went too far. Okay. Now, from down here, you'll have to line everything up. Might be a little bit difficult, but as soon as it falls in to one spot, you should be able to get it on the other one as well. It does have little hooks that'll make it stop, prevent it from rolling down too far. So right now it's hooked in. I can let go of it. Take those 2 bolts, start them in by hand. I will do these by hand, that way the impacting vibrations don't potentially break the glass. Make these nice and snug. They should have thread locker on them, so once they get tight, they'll stay. Don't make these too tight because they are small. There you have it. That's clamped down safely. Let's put the vapor barrier back, run the cables through. Try to stick it back where it was the best you can. This beetle tape should still be somewhat sticky. If it isn't, either get new beetle tape or use some other type of tape. But it's important that the vapor barrier sticks back on here so that it prevents moisture from getting inside of the door, on the inside of the door panel. With this on, we can now put back this bracket. So get your 2 fasteners that hold this on. Snug these up. Plug in the window switch again. Make sure it clicks, otherwise it won't be fully connected. And resecure this clip right here. Now flip the door panel upright, and let's put the two door handle cables on. Remember, the top one had the hook style connector, and then has a little cutout on the sheathing here. This should clip onto the door handle, then hook the bottom one on. Make sure it goes through the proper slot here. Secure this one on as well. Bring the door panel up, line it up with the window seal. And hook it down. Now all the clips around should line up. If they don't just smash them in. Something's not lined up, you will break them if you force them. On mine, they do. So I'm going to tap them all in place. That's all secured. Let's put the fasteners back. Let's put these back. If you can't get the screw to go in there, just put a little piece of paper towel in your socket. That usually holds the bolt on there a little tighter. Do the same to the other one. Make sure those are snug. And don't forget to put this cap back on. Little panel to hide the two screws. Snap that in. Now let's put this one in at the top. Take this piece out if you used it. And don't forget to put this cap back on. It has two hook type tabs on the back and one that clips on in the front. So slide it in and backwards and then clip it on. And there you have it.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.